You meant to do it in July. You knew the rule. Cut it back after it finishes flowering, keep it from going woody. Everybody says so. And then July happened, the way July always happens, and it is now August, and the lavender is sitting out there looking scruffy and half-spent with brown stalks sticking out of it, and you have finally got a free Saturday and the shears in your hand. Put them down for 4 minutes. Because here is what almost nobody tells you about pruning lavender in August. Doing it late is not a slightly worse version of doing it on time. Depending on where you live, doing it late is worse than not doing it at all. And that is the mistake. Most gardeners get August completely wrong because they treat it like July, and it is not like July. July was the month when the answer was the same for nearly everybody. August is the month when the window is closing, and whether it is still open for you depends on 2 things that no video can answer for you: where you garden and which lavender you own. For some of you, right now is genuinely perfect, and I will give you the exact cut, including a rule so simple you will never forget it again. For others of you, watching this in a colder place, the window has already shut, and the correct thing to do this weekend is walk away from that plant and leave it alone until spring. Not because pruning does not matter, because a cut made now triggers soft new growth that will not have time to harden, and the first frost kills that growth and takes part of the plant with it. And here is the asymmetry that decides the whole video. A lavender you skip for 1 year gets woodier. A lavender you cut too late can die. Those are not the same risk, and anybody telling you to just get out there and prune it has not done the arithmetic. So that is what we are going to do first. Actual arithmetic, 30 seconds of it, that tells you which of those 2 people you are. Because this is not a calendar question. It never was. Here is the idea that makes the rest of this obvious. When you cut a lavender, you are not just removing material. You are sending a signal. The plant responds to that cut by pushing out fresh green growth, and it does that automatically, whether or not there is any season left to grow it in. And that new growth arrives soft, tender, unhardened, full of water. It has to spend weeks in decent weather maturing and toughening up before it can survive a freeze. The number the growers use is 4 to 6 weeks of genuine growing weather. So now you can see the trap. If you cut in a window where there are fewer than 6 weeks of growing weather ahead of you, you have not tidied that plant. You have ordered it to produce a flush of the most frost-vulnerable tissue it can make at the exact moment the frost is coming. The cold kills that new growth, and the dieback runs back down into stems that were healthy before you touched them, which is why the rule that matters is not a date on a calendar, it is a subtraction. Stop pruning at least 6 weeks before your average first frost date. That is the standard, and it comes straight out of extension guidance rather than folklore. 6 weeks. From your frost date. Not mine, not the one in the article you read, not the one the gardener on the other side of the country is working to. Yours. So before you cut anything, you are going to do 30 seconds of arithmetic, and it will sort you into one of 3 groups. Lavender does not read the calendar. It counts backward from the frost. Do the arithmetic. It takes 30 seconds, and it decides everything. Step 1. Find your average first frost date. Search your zip code or your postcode and the words first frost date, and you will have it immediately. Write it down. Step 2. Count back 6 weeks from that date. That is your deadline. After that date, the shears stay in the shed until spring. That is it. That is the whole calculation. And now watch how differently it lands depending on where you are standing. Group 1. The window is wide open. If you garden somewhere warm and your first frost does not arrive until late November or December, count back 6 weeks and your deadline is somewhere in October, which means August is not the last call for you at all. It is comfortably early and you have got weeks of room. Do it whenever your plant finishes flowering and stop worrying about it. Group 2. August is exactly your month. If your first frost lands in the middle of October, which covers an enormous number of gardens, count back 6 weeks and your deadline is at the very start of September. So August is precisely the window. Not early, not late. Right now. Get it done in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and you are on schedule. And there is a nice reference point for this group. In the south of England, growers will happily prune as late as the 3rd week of September. That is what a mid-November frost buys you. Group 3. The window is closing this week, or it has already shut. If you garden somewhere cold and your first frost comes at the end of September or the start of October, count back 6 weeks and your deadline was the middle of August, or earlier. So if you are in a short-season, cold winter garden and it is already late August, that window is gone, and this is not a marginal call. The advice from growers in the coldest regions is to finish by the middle of August, precisely because winter arrives sooner the further north you go. If you are on the edge of it, right at your deadline, use this tiebreaker. Look at the 10-day forecast. If you are looking at a warm, settled spell, you have got a little room. If it has already turned cool at night and the season is visibly winding down, treat the window as closed. And here is the rule for anybody genuinely unsure. If in doubt, do not cut. That is not me being cautious for the sake of it. It follows directly from the asymmetry I mentioned at the start. Skip a year and you get a woodier plant that you can correct next August. Cut too late and you can lose the plant outright. When the downside on one side is untidiness and the downside on the other side is death, you do not need a close call to know which way to lean. So go and get your number now, before you go outside. Frost date, -6 weeks. Write it on the back of a seed packet and pin it in the shed, because that same number is your deadline every single year for the rest of the time you own that plant. Everybody has heard the rule. Almost nobody has done the subtraction. If your arithmetic says go, here is the cut. And there is a rule that makes it unforgettable. At the end of August, the 8th month, cut your lavender back to roughly 8 inches tall by 8 inches wide. 8 by 8 in month 8. That is the target shape for an established English lavender, and it is a genuinely hard cut that will feel like too much while you are doing it. Do it anyway. But do it inside one absolute limit. Never cut below the green. That is the rule that overrides the mnemonic and everything else. Lavender does not reliably resprout from bare brown wood because there are no dormant buds waiting down there. Cut a stem below all its green growth, and that stem is finished permanently. So the 8 by 8 is your target, not your instruction. If the living green on your plant does not reach down to 8 inches, you cut higher. The green zone wins every argument. Leave green leaves on every single stem you touch. When you step back, that plant should still look like a living green cushion, just a much smaller one. If you can see bare brown sticks poking out of your cuts, you went too far, and those sticks are not coming back. Technique, quickly, because speed matters here. Do not work stem by stem. Gather a handful of stems in one hand, flatten them slightly so you can see the fresh growth coming off the main shoots, and cut the whole bunch just above the topmost new growth. Sharp bypass pruners for a small plant, hedge shears for a big established one. Work around the plant in handfuls until it is done, and shape it into a dome as you go. Not a flat top, a rounded cushion with the outer stems left slightly longer than the middle. That shape is doing real work through winter because snow and rain slide off a dome instead of sitting on a flat surface and splaying the plant open from the center. One exception before you start. If this is a first-year plant, do not give it the full treatment. Clip the flowers, tidy it lightly to encourage it to branch low, and start the real annual routine next year. That is the whole job, and for most established plants, it is 15 minutes. The 8 by 8 is a target. The green zone is a law. Quick one, because this entire video has been built on 2 questions, and I have only been able to help you with one of them. I gave you the arithmetic for where you garden, but the other question is which lavender you actually own, and that changes the answer just as much. And this is the thing about pruning generally. It is never really a technique problem. Anybody can make a cut. It is an identification problem, and the plant that proves it hardest is the hydrangea. Because there is no such thing as a hydrangea. There are 6 of them wearing one name, and they carry their flower buds at different times, on different wood. So a careful gardener does exactly what a careful gardener should do, tidies the plant up at what seems like the sensible moment, and the following spring it comes back green and lush and completely healthy and gives them nothing. Not one flower. They removed next summer with their own hands, at a moment when there was nothing on that plant to warn them. So I wrote the honest version down. It is called the Hydrangea Mastery Guide. All 6 types, told apart in 90 seconds, because every hydrangea mistake there is starts right there. The prune by type calendar, so the cut you make is the correct cut for the plant in front of you. The real reason the color changes, which is not the pH, whatever you were told. And the 5 myths that waste an entire season. 29 pages, $27, instant PDF, 7-day money-back guarantee, and the link is in the description at waltgreer.com. And it ends the way this channel always ends. With the part nobody selling you something will print. 4 of the 6 types cannot change color at all, no matter what you pour on them. Fertilizer will never fix a hydrangea that will not bloom, because a guide that only tells you what to do is only half a guide. Now, the section for those of you whose arithmetic came back badly, because doing nothing is a real instruction and it deserves a proper explanation. If your arithmetic came back badly, here is your instruction. Do not cut it. Leave it alone. And I know that is a deeply unsatisfying thing to be told. You came here to do a job. The plant looks untidy. Doing nothing feels like failing, or like laziness dressed up as advice. So let me tell you exactly what you are choosing between, and you will see it is not close. If you skip this year's cut, here is the cost. The plant puts on another season of growth that hardens into wood. The green zone climbs a little higher up the stems, and next spring it looks looser and leggier than it would have. That is real. It is also 1 year of drift, and you correct it next August by getting back on schedule. If you cut too late, here is the cost. That cut triggers a flush of soft new growth in September. That growth does not harden. The first hard frost kills it, and the damage runs back down into stems that were perfectly healthy before you picked up the shears. In a bad winter, on a plant that was already stressed, that is how people lose lavenders outright. One of those is a haircut you postponed. The other is a plant you might not have next spring. So here is what you do instead, and it is genuinely almost nothing. You may take the spent flower stalks off. Just the stalks, the dead brown spikes, and nothing more. That is deadheading, not pruning, and it removes so little material that it does not trigger a meaningful growth response. It also tidies the plant enormously, which handles the thing that was bothering you in the first place. Some growers leave even those on through winter for a little extra protection at the crown, and that is a perfectly legitimate choice too. What you do not do is take any leaf growth. No shaping, no dome, none of it. And absolutely do not prune it in winter. That is the one genuinely dangerous option. A dormant lavender does not heal its wounds, so every cut you make in the cold sits open as an invitation to disease. Your real next move is late February or March. Wait until you can actually see fresh new growth emerging, because that green tells you where the living tissue ends and stops you cutting blindly into wood. Then do a light tidy, clear the winter-killed tips, and get back on the August schedule this year. A postponed cut costs you one untidy season. A late cut can cost you the plant. Now check which lavender you own, because for 2 of the 4 types, everything above changes. Lavandines first, the big hybrids. Grosso, Provence, Phenomenal, Seal, Hidcote Giant. And these are the ones with a genuinely awkward August, because they bloom later than English lavender, running from July right through September. so their post-bloom window arrives late, and in a cold garden, it collides head-on with the frost deadline. And I have to be straight with you here, because the growers do not agree on this one. Some say cut a lavender once a year in late August, taking it back to about half its height. Others say the hard cut on a lavender should wait until spring precisely because it flowers later and holds its color into autumn. Both of those are defensible, and you do not have to pick a side because the arithmetic settles it. Run the same subtraction. If your lavender finishes flowering with 6 clear weeks before your frost date, cut it. If it is still going in September and your frost is in October, deadhead it, enjoy the color, and do the real cut in spring. Now French and Spanish lavender, and this one is a hard stop. Spanish lavender is the one with the little upright petals sticking out of the top like rabbit ears. French lavender has the softer, toothed leaves, and neither of them takes a hard cut. Ever. Deadhead them, tidy them lightly, and stop there. On French lavender in particular, a vigorous prune can kill the plant outright, and it does not need to be late in the season to do it. So, for these two, August is not a pruning month at all. It is a deadheading month, and that is the entire job. And English lavender, the Munsteads and Hidcoats, is what the rest of this video described. It is the one that genuinely wants and rewards that hard annual cut, and it is the most forgiving of the group. So you actually need both answers before you touch anything. Where you garden decides whether you may cut. What you own decides how much. The calendar tells you if. The label tells you how much. Everything else you do this month has one purpose: sending that plant into winter hard and dry. So put the fertilizer away, permanently. Lavender does not want feeding at the best of times, and in August it is actively dangerous because nitrogen does exactly what a late cut does. It pushes soft, sappy growth at the moment the plant should be slowing down and toughening up. You spent this whole video protecting that plant from unhardened tissue. Do not hand it a bag of the stuff. Ease off the water. An established lavender in the ground needs almost nothing from you now, and in most climates the rain covers it. Check with your finger 2 inches down and only water if it is bone dry that deep. Remember what actually kills this plant in winter. It is not the cold, it is wet roots sitting in cold soil, and a plant going into autumn soggy is a plant in trouble. And do not mulch it with bark. If you mulch lavender at all, gravel or coarse grit kept back off the crown. Anything that holds moisture against those stems is working against you. If you are still harvesting, and lavender growers will be, cut on a dry morning once about 1/3 to half the buds on each spike have opened, and hang the bunches somewhere dark with moving air. Dark is not optional. Sunlight will bleach those buds from purple to gray in days. And if the arithmetic went badly, and you are looking at a plant that is already too woody to rescue, August is still the best month of the year to take cuttings. 6 inches of non-flowering growth, cut below a node, lower leaves stripped into gritty mix. That plant may be finished. Its replacement does not have to be bought. In August, you are not growing lavender anymore. You are packing it for winter. Before we finish, send this to one person you know who is about to prune their lavender this weekend because the internet told them to. Just the link. If they garden anywhere cold, that single piece of arithmetic might be the difference between a plant that comes back and one that does not. Now here is the whole thing, in one idea. August is not a pruning month. August is a subtraction problem, and the answer is different in every garden. Find your average first frost date. Count back 6 weeks. That number, and not the calendar, tells you whether your window is open. If it is open, cut properly and cut with conviction. 8 inches tall by 8 inches wide, at the end of the 8th month, shaped into a dome, so winter slides off it. But the green zone overrules the number every time. Leave living growth on every stem you touch, because a stem cut down into bare brown wood is a stem you have permanently ended. If it is shut, walk away. Take the dead flower stalks off if the untidiness bothers you, and nothing more. No shaping, no dome, and absolutely nothing in winter. Your next move is late February or March, once you can see fresh green telling you where the living tissue is. And check what you own before you touch it. English lavender wants the hard cut. Lavandons bloom late enough that they often run out of season, so run the subtraction again for them specifically. French and Spanish lavender never get a hard cut at all, in any month, because it can kill them. That is the entire job. 2 questions, 30 seconds, and then either 15 minutes of work or none. A lavender you skipped is a plant with a bad haircut. A lavender you cut too late is a plant you might be replacing. So subscribe and hit the bell, and stick around. We do this the honest way here in the Forgotten Knowledge Library. Real horticulture, exact numbers, and we tell you straight, including when the right answer is to do nothing at all. It is free, and it always will be. And drop a comment with your first frost date and what the subtraction gave you, because I would like to see how many of you are already past the deadline and never knew. Next time, another job everybody does by the calendar that the plant does by the weather. I will see you in the next one.